Hi, this is Paul Palmer. Today I want to talk about the number of people that are contacting me that are actually producing new products. There's so many startups in the pharma industry at the moment, especially biotechnology, but not the full scale necessarily development of new biological entities, but growth products. So like extracts from plants and other preparations like the cannabis, for example, that you get quite often, the cannabis flower. And it seems to be that the startup industry within pharmaceuticals has blossomed throughout the period of the pandemic. People can't travel at the moment, and they're looking to the future and thinking, well, what can I do instead? Entrepreneurs, of course, are thinking, well, there's an industry here that's doing really well, but they're not necessarily doing the clinical research that you might expect. Of course, companies in India are still continuing to supply the generics market, but the startups are coming from everywhere, from Spain, from Eastern Europe, from just about anywhere you can think of. They're less common from the USA. I think that's because the US startups focus on the local market. But I have found quite a lot of people thinking about starting up their new business, but they don't consider risk management. They asked me what would they do to be able to supply this product to the pharmacy. And I asked them for the basics. I asked them, have they got the license to supply? Have they considered how they're going to get their cannabis to the patient? What's the license that's required? What do they need help with? And what's the sustainability of their project? Are they going to have a long-term future in the way that they're supplying? Now, bear in mind that there is a lot of competition. They do need to consider the future of their company, how sustainable it will be. They need to do the risk management and set up their quality management system, because you can't supply to pharmacy without some sort of license. Pharmaceuticals, the pharmaceutical industry in general, is an area that startups often consider. And entrepreneurs think about the future earnings, but they don't necessarily think about what they need to do now. Usually when I talk to them, they don't want to arrange any sort of travel. So going to India, for example, it's a lot of expense to actually get there, to get back, spend the time there to do an audit on a supplier. Now, the recent one that I had was Spain, but even then, they were keeping down their costs, but they weren't doing very much in the way of risk management. The company was based here in the UK, and they're looking at bringing it in and thinking that there's a minimal amount of work to do during an audit. But you still have to do the risk management, the risk assessment. You still have to consider, well, are they sustainable? Is this a company that's going to continue? And as you can see in the background, there's a lot of work being done looking at the different sources, the different countries that have got startup industries going. And I think that's because entrepreneurs are sat at home and they're finding that they can't go out and meet people and do the normal deals. So they've got time to think about, what would they really like to do? Do they want their own small startup that's then going to grow and they'll be able to sell it on in the future? The entrepreneurial spirit hasn't left us, and they're thinking about the future. They don't want to travel. Would you want to be going to India at the moment? I don't know. It's a situation that's quite difficult to consider. What's the risks? What's the risks of traveling? I don't actually think about not going to India. I think about not traveling. Do I want to take the risk of being on a plane where I could potentially catch the COVID virus? I don't know about you, but I don't believe in the engineering that's in place in the aircraft will prevent the spread of the COVID virus, whether you've got your masks on or not. If I'm traveling for 12 hours, I'm going to take my mask off, aren't I? So it's really key for the startups to consider the risk. They want to consider the risk management. They need to look at, well, how's the product going to get to market? What's the route to the pharmacy, if that's the distribution point? Can they sell it online? Do they need to have a license to even bring it into the country? Cannabis, for example, will need a controlled drug license. And if it's not being sold on a licensed basis, which it's unlikely it would be, so you're selling it, you're bringing it into the country ready to produce an unlicensed medicine, but you then have to bring it in for a clinical need. Okay, there's plenty of people that want the cannabis. There's people in the country that are using the cannabis for a clinical need. But these are the sorts of things that people don't consider. They just come to me and say, well, I need somebody that can fill these into small packets. So we're going to have the bulk. We're going to send the bulk product. We want to find somebody to pack it, and then we'll distribute it, or we'll take the orders and make the money, make the profit. But they don't consider why I need to be involved. What do they want me to do? They just want me to find somebody and get on with it. And then I cover all the requirements. I don't have a problem doing that, but I do need to educate them. And education is something that I'm getting stronger and stronger focused on. Education to me is the future for me in the pharmaceutical industry. I see it as an opportunity to help people fulfill the patient needs. For that reason, I'm starting a company. Well, I suppose it's a trading style for my existing company, the Academy of Pharmaceutical Excellence. Now, I hope you like the name, because I quite do like it. And originally, I was thinking, it's a nice acronym. It's APE, and I'll use APEs in all my marketing literature. But I'm not so sure that that's the way to go anymore. I've spoken to an expert myself, a marketing expert, and they recommended going for Apex instead. Now, funnily enough, when I was looking at the acronyms and the abbreviations for the company, the Apex was the first one that came up. And I chose APE because I could see the imagery. But now I have the imagery in my head for the advertising for the Apex just as much as I do for APE. So Apex is where I'm likely to be. Okay, so that's getting right off the topic. I apologize for that. So what I want to say, really, the take-home message is, if you're a startup and you want to supply pharmaceuticals to the market, whichever market, start with risk management. Where's the product going to be sourced from? Is the company you're going to be buying from, have they got a sustainability policy? Have they got enough human resources in place? Are they considering doing clinical research? Are they looking to the future and making sure that when things do open up and we can all travel again, that they can sustainably fulfill your needs for you to place whichever product it might be into your chosen market? And then, of course, make sure you talk to somebody like me so that we can make sure we can get everything right from the start, up front, to make sure when the inspection agency, whether it be the MHRA or another one, comes along, that you're going to get through first time and you're going to be able to supply your product to market and not waste time, which of course wastes resources, wastes money with delays. Maybe you've got a loan that's already accruing interest, so that you can get to market with a minimum viable product first from the beginning and grow with time. And I'm here. I'm happy to support you. Okay, that's it for now for me for today. I just wanted to give some feedback based on some of the requests that I've had recently and how I approach it. I'll talk to you soon. It's Paul Palmer.